rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Whoa, my mic's really high. Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. So, I got a question for you. I mean, I know a lot of people get frustrated over how long it takes for things to filter through and get to a point where we actually start seeing things occurring. You know, it's sort of like watching a duck on a pond. When you're sitting there watching the duck and they're on a pond, you know, you got the flat water, you get the duck moving through the flat water, and you don't really see much of movement. It's like the duck is just sort of gliding along the surface. But what a lot of people don't realize is underneath the surface, those ducks' little legs are just sitting there, and they're just churning away as fast as he can freaking go to get himself sliding across the surface of the pond. And I'm just telling you that occasionally we get bursts of things that start happening or that are happening, and it's like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And here we go. We have some things that are starting to show up now. Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't understand is many times what you have to do, especially in a criminal case or when you're attempting to go after criminality, you typically go after the lowest level people first, because those are the ones that you're obviously able to grab quickly. But once you get them, you are also able at the same time to flip them. They're the most vulnerable. And so what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing things that all of a sudden just seem like there was nothing going on, and then you'll see a flurry of activity. And that's exactly what we've got here. I'm going to go through a bunch of things that are happening right now that a lot of people may not be aware of. And that's on tap for tonight's show. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Up on deck for the Pledge of Allegiance is none other than definitely not Karen. So he's over in the green room. He's getting himself all set up and prepared. So if you are of mind, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Definitely Not Karen as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, DNK, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file that you generate. Send it off to me by attaching it to an email and addressing that to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 23 of these items. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. So if you have not done your pledge yet, please do so and get it over to me. If you utilize your phone to record the pledge, you can use the share option. That's the SHARE option. And you'll be able to send it off to fans at AmericanPerspective.online as well. All right. Let's go to tonight's headline sponsor, which is, as soon as I can bring it up here, There we go. The Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution is a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education from a biblical worldview. Now, how do we do that? Well, they have a 3-step plan for you to join in and help them out. Step number 1 is, of course, to pray. That's right. Pray. Pray for the country. Pray every day. And if you don't know how to pray, or not how necessarily, I mean, come on, everybody knows how to pray. But if you don't necessarily know what to say in your prayer, you can sign up with them and they will send you a daily prayer directly to your inbox and you can start praying with them. The second step is to study. And what are you going to study? Well, you're going to study, of course, the U.S. Constitution. And you start off by filling out this form that's right above my head in the video here. If you enter your first name, last name, and your email address. Oh, I forgot to tell you. You need to go to theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview.com, and that's where you need to go. Oh, that was bad. I was remiss in that, but that's where they go. That's their website. Their home on the interwebs is theamericanview.com. And when you're there, go and click on study, go to U.S. Constitution course, and put your name and email into this box form right here. Click on Get Lesson 1 free. Don't worry, they're all free. Okay, for this course, they are all free. It's 100% free, 100% online. All this does is this allows you to get the first lesson sent to your email box, and then subsequent lessons will come 1 per week automatically directly to you. There's 12 short 15 to 20 minute lessons in the entire course, and you can tackle them all 1 per week until you are done. And then after you've gone through that course, well, you can go and check out their other courses, especially the courses that are in person all over. They've got them all over the place. You can check them out. You can look right here and see all of the different courses that they have available for you to sign up and get involved, to register for those courses, go and take them. They're in-person courses. And then once you do all of that, now keep in mind, going to the courses, that is part of the ACT portion as well. But it's even better if you act by maybe becoming a member, or even better yet, become an instructor. Take your newly found knowledge, newly acquired, I should say, knowledge, and pass it on to others. Become an instructor for them and start doing classes in your neck of the woods so that you can pass along, again, this is a grassroots education, so that you can pass along the information, the correct information that you have found that goes, kind of goes against the leftist narratives about our Constitution and about this great country and its founding. Now, if you want to figure out, or if you want to check out how to be an instructor, come here to this video. You can go and check it out. It says how to become an IOTC instructor, and they'll tell you it's really not that hard. And then you can get 5 tips for a successful class to help you start right up right away. Then you can also purchase the instructor kit. They've got it. It's got all kinds of information and books in it. Oh, it's just a fantastic plethora of information. You can also go and check out their shop. Go to the shop in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that. you'll be taken to their page where you can get not only their instructional materials, but also other educational resources. They got all kinds of books and things available, as well as Self-Evident Apparel. The company that they're sister with is Self-Evident Ministries. They've got Self-Evident Apparel there. But my personal favorite is right above my head, right up here in the corner. It is the Legacy Library. And the Legacy Library has got a lot of leather gifts and keepsakes. My personal favorite is this guy right here that I'm making move. I'm making the picture move on the video. That's this right here. I'll get you a lot closer look at it. This is the Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution. And according to my longtime Whiskey Warriors, Whiskey Warrior P1s, in particular, 3 Chevy, says that each rounded corner, see, this has got sexy rounded corners, rounded corner book contains actual Roman numerals, complete with a 100-year ascending numerical order guarantee. By the way, no actual Romans were harmed in the formation of these numerals. And according to my Whiskey Warrior G, the stitching, which we'll get to, is inspirational enough to the stitching is inspirational enough. It led the Singer Sewing Company to go full power into the Industrial Revolution. Well, let's take a look at that stitching. We have an 1/8 inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. There's the stitching that we were just talking about, all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem with this thing, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you study for and eventually pass your civics badge in Scouts, as well as your civics exam, and probably, more than likely, even your naturalization test. Go to theamericanview.com, click on the Legacy Library, and grab your pocket-sized, leather-bound, 100-year warranty Constitution of the United States. It is a fantastic gift, and you can go and do that. And I, of course, thank the Institute on the Constitution for sponsoring this show. Once again, head on to theamericanview.com and go check out all of their products, services, and information. All right. Well, first things first, folks. I'm just saying. First things first. So Jimmy Kimmel, who, I'll be honest with you, I don't watch late night TV. I haven't watched late night TV since Johnny Carson retired. And the reason is that because, well, let's just face it, I didn't find anybody after Johnny Carson very funny in that time slot. I mean, Johnny Carson was, the king of late night TV. He was fantastic. And what was even greater about him? He didn't do anything political. He didn't do a single thing political. And in fact, he was even asked about that one time, and he's like, why? Why would I do that? He's like, that isn't entertaining. I entertain. I don't need to get political. Anyway, Jimmy Kimmel, of course, is the worst guy. I think he's the poster child for what you definitely do not want to be. But anyway, I digress. He made a very poor taste joke. Well, all of his jokes, for the most part, are in poor taste. I mean, this is the guy that would run around with and objectify, by the way, women on his man show, where he would go into the public and do things behind women unbeknownst to them on camera. He made all kinds of lewd and lascivious gestures behind them. He had women who bounced on trampolines not wearing any undergarment that, helps hold that particular area of a lady's body in place. And so they would be bouncing all over the place. He called them some sort of a disgusting name. I don't know. Anyway. And by the way, no, I haven't seen it. I'm just telling you what I know from other sources. Anyway, Jimmy Kimmel is a disgusting individual. But all of that being said, and even though he's sitting here saying that his joke about Donald Trump and wife Melania, where Melania was going to be an expectant widow. By the way, this happened right before the White House Correspondents' Dinner or right after the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'm not sure what the timing was, but it was on the same day. What a jerk. Anyway, he claims that joke, the expectant woman joke or widow joke, was a jab against Trump's age difference, mainly, and he explained it apparently the next show. And he's like, oh, and I'm being told by my unofficial producer that Kimmel recorded the show because, you record the show earlier. So he recorded the show before the dinner. So it happened prior to Donald Trump have an assassination attempt. Third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one. We don't even know how many. Anyway, and there have been calls for Jimmy Kimmel to get fired. Hey, that's up to ABC. They can make their choice. They can fire him. I mean, to me, it certainly would make sense to do so. I mean, his ratings are abysmal. He's not a comedian by any stretch of the term. But somebody asked me, and they were like, well, how do you feel about Jimmy Kimmel and, being canceled and taking away his right to speak? Now, I am a free speech advocate. And for that, there is times where, yes, there is speech that you yourself may not like. And Jimmy Kimmel has all the rights in the world to go ahead and speak. He even has all the rights in the world to stand up on stage or in front of a camera, like I'm doing right now, and speaking his mind. See, that's the brilliance of free speech. The problem that I have is that it's not that Jimmy Kimmel said what he said. I mean, yes, it's disgusting, but let's be honest. It's the same drivel that he puts out week after week, night after night, whatever. Problem that I have is if this had happened 40 years ago, if this had happened 50 years ago, if this had happened, okay, if this had happened, say, if he had made that same joke or something very similar about JFK and Jacqueline, yeah, how long do you think he would have actually been on the air? And I'm not talking about the FCC. I'm talking about the decency of the American people. See, the reason why Jimmy Kimmel is able to do what he does is because there are disgusting people, American people, and others who are consuming what he is saying. It's no different than what's going on with Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson or, Nick Fuentes. These are all people who honestly, or the what's the new one? Hassan Piker. See, these are all people, okay, these are all people who have the right to say what they want to say. The problem is we have a segment in our society, or several segments in our society, that are just as demented, that are just as sick, that are just as horrible as the people who are speaking. Because I guarantee you, if Nick Fuentes was doing this exact same thing during 1940s, during the war, he would be summarily censored by the American people. He wouldn't have a platform. People wouldn't listen to him. See, and that's what's supposed to happen with free speech. Why do you think the mainstream media is in the toilet right now? Because people discovered that the mainstream media are not telling the truth, that they are giving out a whole bunch of propaganda. And so because of that, the American people, the vast majority of the people, have decided to not watch them. This is what's happening with MSNBC, which is now MS Now, or MSLSD, or whatever you want to call it. Or people sitting there and watching CNN. Now, CNN, unfortunately, has captive audiences in airports and hotels. But I digress. The point is that if the American people actually had any decency at all, they would cancel Jimmy Kimmel on their own. They would cancel Jimmy Kimmel on their own. And they would say, wow, that's a step too far. And they would turn off his show. They would shut him down by not getting or not buying tickets, by not going to see his show, by not turning it on at night, by watching something else. Now, it might take time, but he would eventually get canceled on his own. He would get fired. He's losing money anyway. I mean, ABC already stated this. And even the affiliates, who are not owned by ABC, by the way, the affiliates went and shut him off. Remember that happened about a year ago. That's the way we do it. You don't cancel him or say that he can't say what he wants to say. I mean, if he wants to leave ABC, or if he gets kicked off of ABC and he starts his own podcast or something along those lines, maybe he starts a channel on Rumble. But the point is, though, that the American people, and this is the problem with these folks, apparently there is a segment of American society, and it's, believe me, we all know it exists, but there's a segment of American society that actually enjoys this crap. And that's why it's there. This isn't Jimmy Kimmel's fault. All he's doing is pandering to a certain segment of society, just like Candace Owens, just like Nick Fuentes, just like Hassan Piker. The problem is within society. The problem is within the people who consume that drivel. That's the problem. It's not that we should censor that speech. We shouldn't. We should actually highlight it, call it out. The light of truth and sunlight is the only way to disinfect these people. But that being said, let him say whatever he wants to say. He can talk just like I do. I mean, I'm really not getting paid that much to do this. So, anyway. Unfortunately, there are some people who have decided to bring in the FCC. The National Religious Broadcasters files an FCC complaint over Jimmy Kimmel's live monologue. So it's a Christian nonprofit that filed the complaint on Monday with the FCC, requesting it investigate Jimmy Kimmel's remarks regarding First Lady Melania Trump being an expectant widow. I don't know why I keep screwing that word up, but whatever. Anyway, so they told the FCC that the remarks, when viewed in context, quote, raise serious concerns about the normalization and potential incitement of political violence. The group argued that the rhetoric appears to, quote, trivialize or foreshadow harm against political leaders. and should take on heightened significance given the current political climate. The NRB President Tony Miller said in a statement, "We should be relieved that lives were spared Saturday evening, but relief can't become complacency. We're seeing a pattern of violence in this country that didn't appear overnight." He says, "When influential voices joke about the death or treat political opponents as disposable, it contributes to a culture where violence feels thinkable to the already unstable. National platforms carry real weight, and with that comes responsibility. That's why this warranted action." Now, there's no, I don't have anything further than that, but anyway, the whole point out of this, is that the American people, the standards of society, they should be the ones who are canceling these folks. They should be the ones that should be causing these people to not have a platform. You can sit there and throw money at everything that you want. I mean, can't say that I haven't done it here, but you can sit there and throw money at stuff all day long. If that's what you want to spend your money on that you earn elsewhere, perfectly fine. But don't expect people to listen to it. And that's the key, is that our society, as of right now, has dripped and dropped down into the depths where these people can actually live and maintain an audience, including people who are just vile and despicable, like that Nick Fuentes character and the Candace Owens of the world, and Tucker Carlson, and Steve Bannon, and some of these other people, Alex Jones. You know, it all started, honestly, with Howard Stern. Howard Stern really started it. He was the original shock jock. He created, I'm going to credit him, but he created this genre of disgusting behavior, and people ate it up. And unfortunately, this is it. Anyway. All right. Well, let's move off of that because, I mean, whatever happens, happens. Again, keep in mind, you know, he's got a right to say what he wants to say. Just don't expect anybody to listen. Now, let's move into the court system. Well, the most overturned court in the land, the Ninth Circuit Court. And I only say that because I am actually amazed that they did this. They actually handed ICE a major win over the Portland, Oregon lawsuit. So Portland ICE, of course, down in the ICE facility in Portland has been continually, just about, almost every night, had to deal with anti-ICE protesters that are all over the place down there. Well, there was a local judge, again, one of those federal district court judges who don't have the authority to do this, but they went ahead and do it anyway because they're leftist activists. They're not jurists. But anyway, he or she, I'm not sure which, they issued a block against well, let me, hold on. I got to get this clear in my head, okay? I got to get this clear. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals issued a block against a district court judge's order prohibiting federal officers from deploying crowd control munitions on the protesters at the Portland ICE facility. That's right. So the original judge said, no, ICE, you guys can't use crowd control munitions. Like, for an example, concussive grenades, non-lethal bullets, things of that nature. No, you can't use that for crowd control. Yeah, well, the Ninth Circuit Court said, yeah, no, that's not the case. So the 3-panel decision said the First Amendment does not protect vandalism, criminal trespass, or obstruction of law enforcement. Such unlawful acts, however, have become commonplace around the ICE building in Portland over the past year. Numerous provocateurs, many wielding bat shields, strobe lights that disrupt vision, lasers as well, I'm just adding that, have hurled bricks, smashed security cameras, and blocked driveways to prevent ICE cars from entering or exiting the building. In response, the government has used tear gas, pepper balls, and other non-lethal munitions to disperse the crowd. 5 plaintiffs sued the government, alleging that they are peaceful protesters who have been injured as a result of the crowd control tactics. But they do not contend that they are collateral casualties caught in a crossfire. They claim that the government specifically targeted them in retaliation for exercising their First Amendment rights. The plaintiffs have not shown that the agents had the subjective intent to retaliate or that the government has an unwritten policy targeting them. Much of the evidence shows the government trying to clear the entrance to the facility in the face of unrest and an unruly crowd. Now, here's the thing, folks. And this is what all these protesters don't seem to get. You have the right, according to the Constitution, under the First Amendment, to peaceably assemble. Now, if all you did was stand on a street sidewalk and hold up signs and chant and pound drums or anything along those lines, but not interfere with officers, not perform vandalism, not get into or attack the people walking down the streets, the regular public walking down the streets, do not get into the road to block traffic. All of that stuff, more power to you. Go for it. Go for it. Okay. This is the thing. All right. The problem is the minute you step off from that small little space and start causing problems, that's when your First Amendment rights get thrown out the window. You remember when, Martin Luther King, when all they did was they did peaceful sit-ins and things like that? Okay? That's the right to free speech. That's part of the right to protest. And notice the words are not, hey, the right to protest. The words are the right to peaceably assemble. The right to peaceably assemble, meaning that you can get together and talk peacefully. That's the actual right. It's not the right to protest. We've determined, or we've bastardized that into the right to protest, but it's the right to peaceably assemble. And that's the problem. That's the problem, is that these people don't seem to understand that when you step to a point where you start doing things that are illegal, that becomes a bit of a problem. All right. Before I move on, let me take a quick break here and tell you about Rumble Premium. As you've probably noticed, Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. They're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now there's Rumble Premium, which is an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform. Okay? No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content that you came for, like this show. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium. That's rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO at checkout to get that $10 off your annual subscription. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code STUDIO. No ads, more freedom, and content that you actually care about. That's the deal. Go to rumble.com/premium to get $10 off an annual subscription by using the promo code STUDIO at checkout. All right. Well, in a bit of a surprise move, actually, wait a minute. Before I go too far, I do need to recognize a newcomer to the Rumble chat. I have no idea. I'm just going to put it out there. I'd like to welcome 370, I think it's a 0, Z is for fun. I'm going to guess 37 ounces is for fun. Not quite sure what that means. I don't necessarily need to know, but welcome. I do appreciate you joining. This is, I believe you mentioned this is your first time listening, so thank you for coming. Hopefully you'll come back again. All right. Moving on here for the Supreme Court. Well, they just dealt a blow to the leftist thought process that maybe the Texas redistricting would get thrown under the table. The Supreme Court lifted the lower court block on the new Texas congressional election map. So what that means is that the new map that was created by Texas, under court order, by the way, that was created by Texas, that favors Republicans, all right, then that is going to remain in place for the November congressional elections. Now, you recall, California did their redistricting, and by the way, that, as far as I know, is still in the court process. We haven't heard anything since the challenge to that. That being said, the Virginia redistricting that, of course, the leftists were all jumping up and down and woohoo, you know, all jumping up and down about, well, that one may be, by the way, Fernando, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that in the name. 370Z. Is there a 370Z? I don't remember. Anyway, I thought it was anyway. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. We're going off about the newcomer's name in the chat. Hopefully that person, whoever that is, will actually clarify what their name really means. Anyway, as I was saying, the Virginia Supreme Court heard it yesterday. I guess it is for the car. It's the Nissan 2-seater sports car. Yeah. 3.7 liter V6 engine. Okay. Yeah. Wow. We're off on the tracks. Woo! The train came through. The whiskey train came through and took us all out. Anyway, as I was saying, the Virginia Supreme Court, this is the state Supreme Court, heard arguments yesterday with regards to the referendum that was put in play by Virginia's Democrats and put on the ballot. And that narrowly won. I think the reason why it narrowly won is many people got freaking got confused by the way that it was phrased. But anyway, the Republicans in the state have challenged the referendum, and the conversation or the questioning that came from the Supreme Court justices, well, it didn't go the way the Democrats wanted. Now, keep in mind, the lower courts in Virginia have continually been skeptical about whether or not the Democrats have actually complied with the procedures that are laid out by law in not only the Virginia statute, but also in the Virginia Constitution. Now, according to the Democrats' lawyer, of course, they say, no, the General Assembly actually complied with every step that the Constitution requires. However, that isn't quite the case. And the lawyer said, well, the circuit court attempted to interfere with the democratic process by halting it. The challengers are here now to try and overturn the result of that democratic process. Well, one of the justices on the Supreme Court, the Virginia Supreme Court, said, well, guess what? Doesn't matter. Because if you did it illegally, it doesn't count. And the other justices on the state Supreme Court also asked some questions that largely pushed the Democrat lawyer and raked him over the coals regarding the tougher procedural issues, and then also generally had easier queries for the Republican lawyer. So, yeah. And by the way, fewer than half of the state's 7 high court justices actually asked questions during the oral arguments. So the procedural issue, at least one of them that was raised, involved the General Assembly neglecting to publish the proposed amendment 90 days in advance. And then they went and retroactively repealed that regulation. So they were supposed to publish the proposed amendment 90 days ahead of the vote, but then they said, well, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to keep to that. And here's part of the problem. Because they did this and then said, quote, the new referendum will make things for fair elections. This is why I'm saying I don't think the Supreme Court or the Virginia Supreme Court is going to let this fly. So take a look at these two maps. The top map is how the current and existing districting in Virginia sits. It is literally a 6-5 split. Okay? So 6 Democrat districts and 5 Republican districts. Now, I don't know about you, but that's probably about as fair as you can make 11 districts. Okay? Because that's all that Virginia gets is 11 districts. Now, the bottom map that I'm showing here is what the proposed change, which is supposed to be fair elections, was going to be under the General Assembly's new maps. It's a 10-1, folks. It's 10 Democrat districts to 1 Republican district. Now, when you take a look at the map of Virginia, county by county, how they voted in especially the last presidential election, you'll see that the top map is much more in line with the way that the actual counties voted. So the top map is more reflective of what Virginia actually looks like when it comes down to the people actually voting. This is ridiculous. And honestly, I would not blame the Supreme Court, the Virginia Supreme Court at all for throwing this out. There's other procedural issues, by the way, but this is essentially a blatant power grab by the Democrats. And by the way, the Democrats, of course, say things like, well, the will of the voters shouldn't be tossed out on technicalities. Oh. So in other words, the will of a jury who convicts somebody but yet the case gets tossed on a technicality. Oh, that shouldn't work either, right? And these people are idiots. Anyway. Yeah. So, and by the way, just so you know, the only reason they're doing this is temporary. Okay. For anybody that's not tracking this, they literally wrote in the constitutional amendment. Now, constitutional amendments generally go in, but don't come out very often. I don't know how often Virginia amends its state constitution, but let's be honest here. Chances are, once you make an amendment, you don't necessarily repeal the amendment. Okay? So, in this particular case, they said that, hey, we're only going to amend the Constitution for now. This is a temporary fix until the 2030 census comes out. Then once the 2030 census comes out, we'll go back to our normal, regularly scheduled redistricting process. Yeah, this isn't a fix. This isn't we're going to make sure that the Democrats can win back the House and maybe even the Senate. Well, the Senate they can't really do because it's 2 senators per state. So anyway. Well, all of this, provided that the Virginia Supreme Court does not rule pretty much the way they should, which is throwing all of this crap out. We have another state that has jumped into the electoral race, or the redistricting race, I should say. Well, Florida has decided to enter the arena. So Governor Ron DeSantis on Monday unveiled a proposed slate of congressional district maps that would see the state ultimately net expected 4 Republican-leaning seats. In case anybody isn't counting, that actually would negate the Virginia map, the additional Virginia seats, should the Virginia Supreme Court decide to let it go. So anyway, Florida currently has 20 Republican seats and 8 Democrat seats. The new map would actually shift the balance to 24 Republicans and 4 Democrats. So that's the proposal. And, of course, keep in mind that the Supreme Court has already signed off on Texas's map redraw, which basically means that the Texas map is going to be the new map is the one that's going to be used. And that's an additional 5 seats in Texas. If California gets their redistricting the way they want it, okay, that should negate Texas's change. However, that's still in the court process. So don't get me wrong, that one's still pending. And I personally hope that one gets thrown out as well, because that's just ridiculous. See, all of this is because of the fact that Texas had no other choice. They went to court. They got told by the court, hey, you know what? You guys didn't redistrict properly according to our state constitution. So therefore, you need to redo the map. They redid the map, and oh my God, the leftists went nuts because all of a sudden the map had this criteria that got thrown out by the court. And now all of a sudden, it's removed people like Al Green and Jasmine Crockett. Thank God both of them are gone. But the 2 of them, it redistricted them out of seats. They're gone. They're no longer capable of being in the House of Representatives. So there you go. All of this got kicked off. Oh, and by the way, I saw this article. I don't have it up now, but I saw this article where Missouri is actually saying, hey, if the courts, because don't forget, there is a redistricting case being considered right now at the Supreme Court. They've already done oral arguments, and so now we're just waiting on a decision. Louisiana versus Calais, which is up at the Supreme Court right now. If the Supreme Court decides that the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, talking about having equal race districts or equal districts for race, if the Supreme Court, which looks like it's going to overturn that, but if they do, that means almost every single state that has been using race as a factor in their districting will almost immediately have to redistrict everywhere. And Missouri has already said, well, you know what? If that comes down, if the Supreme Court says, yep, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional, using race as a factor in redistricting, if that gets kicked to the curb, Missouri's already said, we're going to redistrict right away. And they're going to get things going. So, yeah, this ought to be fun. Now, me personally, I'm just going to tell you, and I've said this on social media, I've said this here on the show. Me personally, I'm just going to tell you right now, the only factor that should be included in this districting is the number of people. That's it. That should be the only criteria. How many people do we have in a congruent area? Well, that's a district. However many that we have. However many seats that we actually have, we just divide them as equally as we possibly can based on population. That's it. That's your only choice. You can't check to see how people voted. You can't check to see what their race or ethnicity is, what their religion is. No. The only way to make this 100% fair and clean is just how many people. There you go. That's it. And you're done. How many people in each district? There you go. All right. Well, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this, and I'm running out of time, so I'm probably not going to get to all of my articles here. But I know a lot of people have been waiting for this, and this goes to the idea that I was telling you in terms of going after the lower fish before you get the bigger fish in the pond. Former Fauci advisor, this in Just the News. Former Fauci advisor David Morin's charged for allegedly covering up COVID-19 records. He is charged with conspiracy and destruction of federal records. Now, he's a former top advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci. He was arrested and charged today with conspiracy and destruction of federal records. The charges brought by the FBI, Justice Department, and the U.S. Health and Human Services Inspector General alleged that the former senior scientific advisor at the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, where Fauci was in charge for 38 years, committed conspiracy against the United States, destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in a federal investigation, concealment, removal, or mutilation of records, and aiding and abetting. There you go. They're going to go after this guy, and they'll probably offer him a deal. And they'll basically say, hey, we got you on all of this. We've got you on all of this. And if you give us the bigger fish, we'll consider lowering your charges. Maybe make them, instead of being felonies, they might become misdemeanors or something like that. So the National Institutes of Health, by the way, did not immediately respond to the request for comment. The filing of the charges was immediately praised by two powerful investigative chairmen in Congress who had alleged that Morin's was destroying records and using private email to keep information about the coronavirus and its origins from Congress. So, yeah. Wisconsin GOP Senator Ron Johnson made a statement where he says, more than 2 years ago, my PSI staff discovered and made public emails in which Dr. David Morin's bragged to colleagues about his efforts to avoid transparency by destroying federal records and using his personal email to communicate on sensitive issues. I remember that. I remember maybe even talking about that here on the show, and all that was found out. So, it's starting. It's starting, folks. All right, and in case nobody saw this, well, I mean, it should have come a long time ago. However, the FBI has raided a bunch of Minneapolis child care facilities, part of a sweeping fraud investigation into that potentially $9 billion that is missing. The operation itself was not related to immigration enforcement, by the way. So federal authorities raided more than 20 locations in Minnesota, including child care facilities. And by the way, the Leering Center was a part of these raids. That's right. A Department of Justice spokesperson said, today, with federal, state, and local law enforcement being involved in court-authorized law enforcement activity as part of an ongoing fraud investigation, they executed 22 search warrants in Minnesota this morning as a part of the operation, which is not immigrant or immigration related. The raids center on fraud investigations, federal fraud investigations into largely Somali-owned businesses, including child care facilities that registered their daycare with the state but were allegedly billing for care that was not provided. Now, for those of you who may have missed this, Nick Shirley was the one who brought this to national attention. Yeah. Anyway, the Quality Leering Center and Baby Halamo Child Care, both in Minneapolis, were two of the raids. So, there you go. Yeah. Now, Governor Tim Walz, of course, said that the raids were carried out by federal and state law enforcement after state agencies caught irregular behavior and reported it. However, I did see a post or a response, a quote tweet, we'll call it, by Kash Patel, who basically said, hey, if you want to take credit for all this, sure, but we're the ones that did it. You allowed it to happen. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it was pretty close, something close to that. That's hilarious. Anyway, so in the final minutes of the program here, another document has been exposed by Senator Chuck Grassley. He released an FBI Washington field office 12-page electronic communication that was the original opened preliminary investigation into the Clinton Foundation. Now, apparently, the Clinton Foundation, they were being looked into, and it kind of sort of got squashed. So the guy in particular, the documents indicated that the guy, Ray Holzer, Hulser, who was then head of the Department of Justice's Public Integrity Section, did not support the investigation and actually withheld information from the U.S. Attorney's Office that was running the probe out of Little Rock. Now, all of this, believe it or not, came out of Special Counsel John Durham's questioning of Holzer about the Clinton Foundation investigations. And, yeah. Anyway. Oh, so yeah. Holzer explained his reasoning for stopping the investigation to the special counsel by claiming in sum, the FBI briefing was poorly presented and that there was insufficient predication for at least one of the investigations due to its reliance on allegations contained in a book. And by the way, according to another section chief, the Department of Justice's reaction to the Clinton Foundation briefing was, quote, hostile. Yeah. And Holzer refused to open an investigation. And his excuse was that the FBI presented the case poorly. Grassley highlighted in a letter sent today to Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel, said, quote, included in the FBI's EC are numerous allegations of foreign influence concerns that arose from speaking fees and donations to the Clinton Foundation. Oh, this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. I'm telling you, we got 2.5, roughly, more years of this. Keep it coming. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and then hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget on your way out to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, a thumb sideways or a thumb at an angle. Across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here for Whiskey Wednesday. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.